Hi, you guys. I'm back in my house and I am ready to teach you reading today for day 2 of learning. So it's going to be lots of fun. I hope you guys are ready and I hope you guys are all staying safe and washing your hands a lot. Now remember, I know these videos are long, however, we still need to follow our goals, especially that good listening and being on task. So let's get started. All right, you guys. So I do have another surprise. And if you look, this one, oh, you can't really see it. Let me turn off this light. Hold on one second. I'm gonna turn off this light. Let's see. It's lighting up. What could be in there? I wonder what is going to be in there. If you stay till the very end, trust me, this one, you guys, is going to be very important. You're going to want to know what's in here because there's a little trick that goes along with this one that if you don't listen to the end of this video, you won't know what you can do next. All right, so make sure you're listening, and I know this is going to be a little long, but you know what? I'm going to try to shorten it even more than last time. So turn on my light again, and let's get going. All right, so today's reading was about understanding the text, and understanding the text is the same thing as text structure. All right, so understanding the text is the way, text structure is the way the author organizes informational text. So they are giving you information, and they're going to organize it. There's 3 ways we've been talking about in class that they're going to organize it, okay? The first way they can organize it is by comparing and contrasting, right? Taking 2 things in the text or in the sentence and telling you how they are alike or how they are different. Cause and effect, why and what happened in the story. So remember, we always find that effect first, what happened, and then why did it happen. And then another way they can organize the text is by sequencing it in order, putting it in order. So a passage can actually have, and we've talked about this the last couple months, all 3 of them. In today's text, it did have all 3 of them. And how do you know if an author writes the text like that? How do you know if the author is doing compare and contrast? Or if he wrote the text, the sentence with cause and effect? Or if he is putting the paragraph or the sentences in a sequence? Well, we've talked about this also with those key words. So some of the key words include, for sequencing, first, then, next. We call those transition words. We practice those at the very beginning of the year, so you should know those. All right, some ones for cause and effect. Cause would be one. Because would be another one that shows cause and effect. So, since, those words, so this happened, all right? The word so, or since this happened, those are cause and effect words. Now, for comparing and contrasting, you can say the same. This is different. Both, the word both, unlike, however. Those are all words that are for comparing and contrasting. So keep those in mind when you're reading if you see some of those signal words that we've been going over. All right, so I'm going to put this back here so you know what we're looking for today while we are reading is text structure. I'm going to put it up here. Now remember, being a good listener and being on task so you can see what's in this at the very end. You're going to really want to listen to this one. Trust me on this. All right, here we go. So let me share my screen with you. Uh-oh, it looks like, hold on, I don't have it up. So let me get it up first. Bear with me right here. All right, there we go. And now I'm going to share it. So you had to read The Boy Who Asked Questions today. Now, to cut time, I'm not going to read it to you because you should have already read it and you should have already answered it. So we're just going to go straight to the questions. So remember though, when you read, you're going to always stop and think. So before you read it, you're going to take a guess what you think it's going to be about. Looking at those text structure, or text features, not structure. Look at those text features. So the boy who asks questions, it's probably going to be about a boy who asks a lot of questions. And it looks like maybe he does some science experiments from the picture down here. That's our text features. So let's go ahead and start answering it. All right, so let's see. I'm going to move that there. There we go. Number 1 says, both as a young child and as an adult, Thomas Edison. So you should have read this and figured out, okay, this is about Thomas Edison. This is informational text about Thomas Edison. And guess what? It sequenced his life all the way from the beginning to the end of his life. So there's one way that the author organized that text so you can understand it better. All right, so both. Where's my pen? Oh, right here. Turn it on. Touch up here. Here we go. All right, so both. Remember what I said about those signal words? Both is the signal word for comparing and contrasting two things. So we're comparing and contrasting his young child to an adult. Him as a young child, Thomas as a young child, to him as an adult, and how they were the same. So we're comparing them, how they are the same. So we're going to go back to our text. Before I do that, let's see if I can get a view of this. Let's see, page display. Let's do double page. Aha, much better. All right, so that word both right there. I'm going to underline that again. All right, let's look back in the text. Let's see. Both as a young child and Thomas Edison. Let's read the answers. Was famous, loved learning, was lazy, worked on a train. Well, by reading this, I knew right off the bat that this one is a no. So he was not lazy because he loved to do experiments. So I know he was famous, but I don't know if he was famous as a young child because I had to find as a child and adult. Loved learning, I remember that one, and worked on a train. I remember he worked on a train, but I don't know if it was both when he was young and an adult. So I'm going to say that B and D could be likely, but let me go back and look. Loved learning, let's see. And both when he was a child, let's see. I'm going to look when he was young. I'm looking back, skimming over. Ooh, he was bright as a child. He believed children should listen. The children. Thomas refused his mother, who had been teaching, agreed. His resident believed son's lessons had to be fun. She found books that would interest him, and she let him do experiments. Okay, so we know as a young child, right, from this paragraph, he loved to go to school. He loved to learn, and he actually ended up being homeschooled because the school that he was at didn't like to have fun while they were learning. All right, so that's as a child. Now let's see, does he like to learn, love learning when he was older? I see he worked on a train station, became a, so that was when he was younger, not older. Ooh, when he was 29, so he was an adult now, did experiments and built his inventions. Recorded in a player, Thomas Edison had ideas. Ooh, so as a child, he loved to learn up here, and as an adult, he also loved to learn because he kept on doing experiments. So with that being said, I'm going to say it's B, because for the train, I can only find him working on a train a few years after he was 12. So probably around 14, he was working on a train, but then he started to do all these experiments. So I would say if both a child and an adult would have to be loved learning because he continued it throughout his whole entire life. Now that is a sequencing question. or actually, sorry, that is a compare and contrast question. But you do have to use sequencing because you have to know from the beginning of his life all the way to the end of his life. All right, let's do number 2. The passage says, he also figured out ways to make other people's inventions work better. In which sentence does work have the same meaning? Okay, so what sentence does work have the same meaning? Let's see. All right, so when we do these multiple meaning words, we first reread the sentence to think about, okay, what's going on? So let me reread that sentence. I figured out work. He also figured out ways to make other people's inventions work better. So for the inventions, I'm thinking about inventions to work. So it's an object working, not people working. Inventions work better. So to get the inventions to work better, so an object, a thing. Let's see. We will work until 2 o'clock. Well, we means people. So that's not an object. So that's a no. Being a teacher is hard work. Oh boy, do you know it. But again, that's a person, a teacher. So that is not the same type of work because that's a person actually working. Work the clay with your hands. Work the clay with your hands. So I'm visualizing this in my head. Again, if you're working with your hands, it's a person working it. So it's not the same type of work. So no. Cross that out. Last one. Show me how these tools work. Tools working. Tools is an object. Inventions are an object. That is the same type of work. So your answer here is J. Sometimes you have to really think about it and go through each sentence and think about what the word is saying for each sentence and make sure it matches. Number 3. When his parents could not answer one of his questions, Thomas would. So these friends, this is a cause and effect question. Because his parents couldn't answer his questions, he did this. So what did he do? That's what we need to find. We need to find the effect. Did he, A, look for the answers in a book? That seems pretty cool, but I don't remember him saying anything about reading a book. Ask his teacher the same question. That would be a good solution, but let's see. Do an experiment to answer the question. Ooh, those problem-solving skills. Or ask them a different question. Well, that doesn't really solve his question, though. So, but let's see what the text says, because we need to figure out what the text says, not what we think is the best answer. Go back into the text and look. All right, so here we go. When his parents could not answer one of his questions, Thomas would look for the answer in a book. Let's see, go back. Let's look for that keyword, maybe parents and questions. Those keywords, that will help us. Let's see. Parents didn't know. Oops, that's a little bit blurry. Let's try that again. There we go. Parents didn't know. If the parents didn't know an answer, look, there is a comma. Oh, and remember, when we see commas, they are not only to separate sentences with conjunctions, but they can also show a cause and effect relationship or text structure, type of text structure there. And that's what we also use commas for. So right there, his parents didn't know. So what was the effect? Thomas did experiments to find an answer himself. So there you go, we found that. B. Good job, you guys. Now remember, that comma also helps you know text structure. So that's another signal. It's not a single word, but it's a signal punctuation to help you find those text structures like cause and effect or sequencing or compare and contrast. All right, so number 4, 5, and 6, I'm just going to go ahead and give you the answer because these were pretty self-forward. These were simpler answers, and that come directly from the text if you just go back and look. So number 4, it asks you, what does bright mean in this sentence? And if you're talking about a person, it says, although he was bright. You're not talking about how colorful they are. You're definitely talking about how smart they are. So that one would be F, smart. All right. 5, when Thomas was 12. So in this case, you just had to go back, and it was directly in the text. Look for that word, or look for that number 12. And it was right here. I already had it underlined right here. When Thomas was 12, Thomas home lessons ended at 12. So let's see, became a telegraph operator, set up his own laboratory, went to work on a train, made an improved telephone. So it says when Thomas was 12, he ended his lessons. For a few years, he worked on a train. So when he became 12 to about 14, it sounds a few years, he worked on a train. So there you go, that was directly in the text. Thomas Edison's first invention was so all you got to do, again, look back for that key word that we've practiced all year, first invention. And let's see, his first invention, if you go back, right here, down the bottom, his first invention was the electric boat recorder. So that was directly in the text. If you just go back and look, it's directly there. There's no other answers. You didn't have to use your inferencing skills. So those were pretty easy. Now, number 7, Thomas kept inventing for the rest of his life because. So this is a sequencing. You have to think for the rest of his life. So when he was little, he was inventing, and all the way to the end, he was inventing. And they're asking, why? Because he invented. What did he do? He invented for the rest of his life. Why? So not only is it sequencing, again, this is cause and effect, because you have that signal word, because. So why did he invent for the rest of his life? So I'm going to look at the end, because it's talking about for the rest of his life, and that's towards the end. Let's see. But Edison, right here, but Edison had not even begun to run out of ideas. There was still so much he wanted to learn and do. Until his death at age 84, Thomas kept on asking questions, doing experiments, and making wonderful inventions. So there you go. What is the answer? He needed to make more money? No, it doesn't say that. Had so many ideas. Yes, it did say that. Let me just check the other ones just in case. Wanted to impress people? No, it didn't say that. Had to keep his workers busy. Nope. It specifically said, and we underlined it, but Edison had not even begun to run out of ideas. So it tells you there was still so much he wanted to learn until his death at age 84. So there you go. There is that one. So now I am going to clear my screen and then go to the next page. So I'm going to go back to single view. Let's see, view, page display, single view, and go to the next one. Now, number 8. How was Thomas Edison at home different from his experience at school? I bet you guys can answer this question right now. So if you want to, you can comment in the video on Edmodo and tell me, how is your experience different from the one you're having at home right now to the one you're in school? That would be a good way to comment. But for Thomas, we read it before, and if you go back, it's right here. When Thomas was 7, Thomas started school. Although he was bright, he had an awful time. Remember, his teacher was strict, and he believed children should listen and not ask questions. The children had to sit still, straight in their desks, and no experiments were allowed. So remember, then because of that, it caused his mother to homeschool him, and she agreed to teach him. Mrs. Edison believed in making his son's lessons fun. So basically, you can say because this is a compare and contrast at home to school. At home, it was awful for Thomas Edison, but at home, it was fun. So sorry, I think I messed that up. At school, it was awful. At home, it was fun. So I put down here, it says write 1 to 2 sentences telling how they are different. All right, so I'm just going to write one sentence though. At home, he had a fun experience. School, it was awful. Now, awful. I know this is a little bit blurry, but bear with me here. I normally don't write like that, but I'm trying to write on a screen sitting up. So at home, he had a fun experience. At school, it was awful. And I'm going to give you a reason why, because we always like to back it up with something in the text, because there are no experiments. There we go. Hope I spelled experiments right. Let's see. Experiments. Yeah, I sure did. That looks like an I. 2 I's, but that is a R right there. All right. So let's go. There we go. All right, now I went a little bit off, but it's really hard to write straight up like this. Normally I write like this. All right. So there we go. We're done with our compare and contrast. Now, last video you watched, I had you watch a conjunction by Tim and Moby. So you know about conjunctions. We've learned them in class. So when we are combining 2 sentences into one, we can use a conjunction. Now, if we are repeating the same thing over and over again, we use the word and. And in this case, for number 9, you had to use the word and. So it says, young Thomas loved science. He loved reading too. So we've talked about when we're combining 2 words using the conjunction, or 2 sentences using the conjunction and, we get rid of the words that repeat over and over again. So in this case, young Thomas loves science, and you can get rid of he because you already used his name. You can get rid of he and loved because you already used loved. And you can get rid of to because you're making it into one sentence, not another sentence. So young Thomas loved science and reading. And that one would be B. There you go. Now the next one is comparing 2 objects. And when we compare 2 objects, we can use the word but or so. Let's see. Edison invented the light bulb. Edison did not discover electricity. So we're going to use but, not so, because so is a cause and effect. And in this case, we are comparing and contrasting. Well, we're actually contrasting, telling how different. So Edison invented the light bulb, but Edison did not discover electricity. And again, when you're putting 2 sentences together, you forget the words that repeat. So I'm not going to say Edison again. Edison invented the light bulb, but did not discover electricity. Let's see which one says that. Ooh, let's see. F says Edison invented the light bulb, but he did not discover electricity. That is a good one. And if you look, because it's using but, and but makes the most sense because the other ones, first of all, this one just uses a comma. Commas do help you, just like the sentence be selected, to know the text structure. It's one of those clues. You still need to put a conjunction in there. Or, and then the other 2, H and J, say and or, and those were the wrong conjunctions to use for those sentences. All right, 2 more, and then we are done. Edison thought, record. Now, these are just putting in the words that complete the sentence that make sense, that aren't weird. So these are really quick. Edison thought the record player was his finest invention. So you should have used finest. Fine, more finest, and finer do not make sense in this because we're talking about the best invention, which is finest. All right, out of all the inventions. 12, workers could build Edison's inventions than he could. Workers could build Edison's invention quickly than he could? Quickest than he could? More quickly than he could? Or most quickly than he could? I would definitely, since it says than he could, it would be more quickly than he could. All right, that one makes sense. So there you go, my friends. We are done with this lesson. I hope you enjoyed the lesson on text structure that we have gone over all year, because we've gone over each one of these individually, and then we've been going over the whole thing with all different texts in our class. So now it is time. You stayed here, you listened to me. Now it is time for this one. And you're going to be so glad you listened to the very end, because here I go. Is it dark? It's a ball, and it glows. And with the ball, guess what? For reading centers, I'm allowing you to have some time outside to play. So if your parents allow you to go outside and play for reading centers. Or, you know what? You can just go and relax somewhere in your house and take that time for reading centers just to have fun. Because I know sometimes it's stuck in the house and you're always having to read, and you've been doing a good job. So this one time I'm going to give you a break because you've been listening and you listened all the way to the end. So go, toss a ball, go have fun. Bye, you guys. I'll see you tomorrow.